Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is our year to shine, and we are getting close to the end of Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. Are you guys really thinking about a lot of the things we've talked about in this? I know for me it's been really close to home, and I'm glad that I have revisited this book. Today is guidepost number 9. It's cultivating meaningful work. And with every guidepost, there's always a letting go part of it, right? And so the letting go on this one is letting go of self-doubt and supposed to, right? Because sometimes when you make your decision about a career, it might be because you're supposed to do it. And maybe you have self-doubt about wanting to do something different and you're not qualified for it, or you might want to take a risk and be an entrepreneur and you're just too afraid to take that leap, right? And so Brene said in her research that, you remember, she's studying these people that are living what she calls a wholehearted life, and Annabelle's chiming in the background. And so she did find that one of the components that seemed to be a common thread for most of the people living a wholehearted life were that they were doing something that they considered to be meaningful. Now, does that mean that other people might not find it meaningful? I suppose. Maybe it's finding meaning in whatever you're doing, whether it's changing the world or not, just finding that there's a meaning. I've talked about this before because we talked a lot about this during our Simple Abundance year last year with Sarah Ban Breathnach's book. And I remember saying to you guys, I've had a lot of different jobs, and I've had jobs that were maybe not meaningful to other people, but I was still happy in my life, and they served a purpose of just helping me pay the bills and being able to do what I wanted in my off time. I think I always find meaning in whatever I do. So I feel like I've also been in a position where, in more than one time, where I've done something that's extremely meaningful for my career or my business. And I've had levels of happiness and levels of disappointment in those as well. And I do find fulfillment in having meaning in my work, but I don't think it's the key to happiness. I agree that Brene found it as a common thread during her research. I agree. I think if you're doing something that's totally meaningless, then that's going to probably bring on something like depression, hopelessness, monotony, hating your job. Like, that's not going to be part of a wholehearted life, I don't think. So she goes on to talk about, again, Sarah in Simple Abundance talked about a lot of these things, that we all have gifts and talents. Are you using your gifts and talents at your job? You might love to do something, but it might not be woven into your job. But then there might be things that you're talented in a business sense, or even just in servicing others that you're using in your job. And most of us who are searching for spiritual connection spend too much time looking up at the sky and wondering why God lives so far away. But God lives within us, not above us. This is Brene speaking. Sharing our gifts and talents with the world is the most powerful source of connection with God. That's the same exact thing that Sarah told us last year in Simple Abundance, that it was a part of bringing out your soul when you bring these gifts to the world. And remember, when we were going through Simple Abundance, we were encouraged to be spending at least an hour a week on something that was our gift, that we were even just learning more. We don't necessarily have to be working on a book or writing a movie or anything, but just somehow spending time with those gifts, whether they're in your work or not. Using our gifts and talents to create meaningful work takes a tremendous amount of commitment. That's true too, because maybe you're an amazing artist and you grew up with the concept, and this would be the self-doubt, that, oh, a starving artist, you know, you hear that. And so you didn't go for it, or you majored in something else in college because you thought there's not going to be a job for me as an artist. And that can be hard when you're squelching down those things. And I like how she says this. No one can determine what meaningful is for us, right? Culture doesn't get to dictate if it's working outside the home, raising children, lawyering, teaching, or painting. Like our gifts and talents, meaning is unique to each of us. That's true. So you could find meaning in something that someone else might not consider to be meaningful. And then as far as that self-doubt and supposed to, these are some things that you might be saying. Maybe everyone has gifts except for me. Maybe that's why I haven't found them yet. Or, yes, I do that well, but that's not really a gift. It's not big enough or important enough to be a real talent. This is so reminding me of simple abundance. And there's so many topics that we talked about last year that went through this sort of thing. And when you think about the things like you're supposed to, maybe you're supposed to get a job with benefits, you're supposed to work 40 hours a week, you're supposed to do something that is like maybe your family considers it to be like you can't do something blue collar, you have to do something white collar. I mean, there's just so many things that people grow up with that they have to reach a certain status at, you know. And we also lose heart, and we realize that we're supposed to choose between work that you love and work that supports the people that you love. You would hope that you could find something that you would love and that it would also support you. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I really relate to this next part, and it's called Nice to Meet You, What Do You Do? Remember how we talked about how what you do can be like a status symbol for you? I have struggled with this, I have struggled with that question before, because sometimes I haven't necessarily been proud to say that I'm doing something, or I haven't known how to explain it, or I don't want people to think that that's who I am because that's what I do. So Brene does discuss that so much can be wrapped up in what do you do. And that is such a common thing. Like even if you're getting your hair cut and the hairstylist is just trying to make conversation, they tend to always say, what do you do? Yeah. Most of us have complicated answers to this question. Exactly. And remember, in Simple Abundance, I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but this one is just so tied to that. When Sarah wanted to say that she was a writer, but then she had this bar of only being able to say that she was a writer when she had sort of reached the pinnacle of what she considered to be a writer. And then also, remember in one of the stories she told us about how like another mom, where she was picking up her daughter, another mom was like, oh, are you still writing or did you find a real job? That's horrible. So there's a lot of that tied in here. So every semester, she says, she shares a quote by theologian Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. That's pretty good. I would recommend reading this one. I just sort of glossed over it. It's probably the shortest guidepost in the book. I'll come back to you with the last guidepost tomorrow, and then we'll wrap up the book in one more entry after that. And I am tossing around a few more options for the next book. I sort of had my mind on one, and then I'm looking through it. It almost looks like I could do an entire year on that one. So who knows, if I keep the vlog going for next year, maybe that will be the whole year. So that one's not going to be the next book, but I'm considering a few. And I know that these first three have been very self-worth, self-love focused, and I'm thinking about the next one being kind of going in a different direction. We have Sarah's principles across the thumbnails: joy, harmony, beauty, order, simplicity, and gratitude. So there's a lot of things that could fall into one of those categories. So I have a couple of ideas and I'll share those with you soon. Thank you for being here. Let me know what you think about meaningful work and whether you have found meaning no matter what you're doing in your daily life for income. Or she mentioned a lot of things. You might be taking care of family members. So there's a lot of things that could be meaningful. Could be volunteering. That's also work as well. So I'd like to hear what you think. Let me know. I hope you've been having a great weekend, and I will see you on the next video.